America is a constitutional republic, not a democracy. There is a very big difference, and we need to get this right. That's what we're going to talk about. So, what is a democracy? A democracy is basically rule by majority, and that means that minority doesn't necessarily have rights. There is no overarching anything. I mean, you can have elected democracy where you have representative people being elected who represent the interests within the democracy. But in a constitutional republic, you have inalienable rights that are put into a constitution that the government is also subject to, and that even the majority and the minority are subject to. So that's what we have in America. So 1776, Independence Day in America, July 4th, Declaration of Independence. And then 12 years later is when the Constitution came. And that's when our inalienable rights were put in there. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right to bear arms, all those sorts of things. Those are the amendments. Now, what the Constitution does is put limits on government. And it puts limits on what can be done. And then you don't have these atrocities like in the 19th century, 20th century, all throughout history, really. And that's why it's so important that we refer to America as a constitutional republic, because that's what it is. It is not a democracy. It may have parts of a democracy and ideas and some principles, but it is not a rule by majority. We do not want rule by majority, because what that means is if the majority decides that murder of a particular type of person is acceptable, then that means there's nothing they can do about it. They don't have inalienable rights, which is what our God has actually given us. And so we don't want a democracy. We do not want a democracy. So don't refer to America as a democracy. Refer to it as a republic, because that's what it is. It's a constitutional republic. It is a republic bound by the Constitution, which guarantees our rights and limits the power of the government. Now, one other thing that's important is that we remember that what we have to have is elected people who are going to really represent our interests. And there's something going around today called the Convention of States, where people want to change the Constitution. The issue is there's not actually a problem with the Constitution. What's happening today is people are violating the Constitution. That's the problem. So how would changing the Constitution fix the issue if they're already not following the Constitution? So Convention of States, we don't need that. What we need is a highly informed electorate that is engaged with what's going on and paying attention. That's what we need. And we need to remember our history as well. I just found out that they're not even teaching the World War I. They're not teaching the Holocaust. They're not teaching all this stuff in U.S. history for the AP history course. That's advanced placement. That's where a high school student can get college credit for taking this course. But America is a Christian nation. They're not even teaching the founding fathers in there. Can you believe that? This is insane. It's insane. But praise God that there's a homeschooling rise that's happening. It's becoming massive. So many people are homeschooling now, or doing a different type of education outside the public education system that is really a government education system. It's just indoctrinating people. And if anybody has to use that, well, please supplement it. Know what they're talking about. Know what they're saying. We need to have the right history taught to Americans, taught to everybody here, because it's what we need. And so it's so critical, because then it's being replaced by 1619 Project, which is revisionist history. What they're doing basically, and I like the way David Barton puts this, he says that basically it's like taking the story of David from the Bible, where you take all the bad things he did, and that's all they highlight, like the adultery and having the man killed, murdered, and not being a great parent, those sorts of things. And it's like talking about only those things, and not talking about any of the good that he did, any of the Psalms that he wrote. It's talking about none of that. And that's what actually happens is all the good is far outweighs the bad. And that's actually one of the evidences that it's not about scales either, but that's one of the evidences that the Bible is real, is that because God included the bad, even of the heroes in the Bible. He didn't just show them like they're perfect. And that's a message for us today, is that we don't have to be perfect. Now, we can't be sloppy. We can't be doing that sort of stuff. We've got to be really seeking the Lord and really knowing him. And David was a man after God's own heart. And so what they're doing is taking all these bad things from America and putting from the history and putting them in there, putting none of the good. The fact that we abolished slavery, the fact that it wasn't even started with slavery. I mean, it's completely misleading. That's one other topic. But it was actually, the Declaration of Independence came from the sermons that were being preached the decades before. That's what it came out of. It's the theology in action. It's the biblical doctrine in action. And that's what we have. It goes away from tyranny. So it's so important for us to remember that. So please, America, refer to America as a representative, a constitutional republic. You can say a constitutional representative republic, however you want to call it, but it's a republic. It is not democracy. And we got to remember that. So happy Independence Day. God bless you. Hey, would you share this? Would you like and subscribe? And make sure you comment below. What do you like about this? What is important to you? All right, God bless. We'll see you in the next episode.